The ancient pirate skeleton, discovered in a 308-year-old shipwreck, shocks scientists. Today, science is developing at an astonishing pace, opening up great advances that we could never have imagined in the past. We can do wonders like traveling to space, connecting globally in the blink of an eye, or even creating artificial intelligence. However, technology cannot always solve every problem. There are still mysteries in the world that even scientists struggle to understand. Mummies that have survived for thousands of years in perfect condition, ancient tunnels holding untold stories that no one has uncovered, and ancient weapons with mysterious powers that have yet to be explained. These are all big questions that make archaeologists scratch their heads. So, what are these mysteries? Let's explore them together in today's video. The skeletons of ancient pirates. A fascinating recent discovery at the Whydah Pirate Museum has uncovered a mysterious chapter in maritime history. Specifically, a team of researchers found 6 skeletons of ancient pirates discovered aboard the legendary Whydah ship, which sank off the coast of Cape Cod in 1717. This is a significant discovery that helps illuminate part of the golden age of piracy. Besides the Whydah ship encountering a terrible storm while crossing the Atlantic, scientists are analyzing DNA from these skeletons to identify the individuals who were once associated with the ship. This research could provide us with more information about the legendary pirates who once terrorized the seas. The excavation is led by the famous explorer Barry Clifford, who discovered the Whydah wreck in 1984 and led subsequent research. The Whydah was originally built as a slave trade vessel but was later taken over by pirates. It became a rare historical treasure, as the only 18th century shipwreck ever confirmed. With advances in forensic technology, Clifford and his team hope to verify the connection between the discovered skeletons and the descendants of these pirates, helping to sketch a clearer picture of the lineage of the sea's rulers. The ship's history is intertwined with the slave trade and piracy. Samuel Bellamy, also known as Black Sam, was the famous pirate who seized the Whydah and turned it into a warship for raiding the seas. However, in 1717, the ship sank in a storm, along with most of the crew. Only 2 out of 146 crew members survived. The skeletons that were found have been excellently preserved for over 300 years, thanks to materials from the ship. Through DNA analysis, the research team hopes to uncover factual information about these pirates, especially whether there is any connection to Samuel Bellamy. Previously, a DNA sample from one of Bellamy's descendants yielded no results, but this excavation may provide a convincing answer. The story of the Whydah and pirates like Bellamy is not just a legend in popular culture, but the truth. Between 1650 and 1730, during the golden age of piracy, figures like Bellamy became a terror on Atlantic trade routes. Thanks to the work of explorers like Clifford, we gain a clearer understanding of the real lives of these pirates and the complexities of their world. The Whydah Pirate Museum in Massachusetts not only preserves valuable artifacts from the Whydah and other ships, but also serves as an important research center for pirate history. It helps visitors gain a deeper understanding of the harsh lives of pirates and sheds light on the differences between legendary tales and reality. If you have the opportunity, be sure to visit and explore. The skeletons of 80 tomb robbers. In 2024, workers in Shenyang, Hubei Province, China, were digging the foundation for a house when they unexpectedly encountered a rock of unusual color and many characters resembling ancient writing. Suspecting that it could be part of an ancient tomb, they quickly notified the local authorities and cultural heritage experts. Upon receiving the information, experts rushed to the scene to investigate. Through their expertise, they confirmed that it was indeed an ancient tomb dating back to the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms period, between 907 and 960. Surrounding the tomb were signs of several tomb robbery pits. This led archaeologists to conclude that tomb robbers had visited multiple times to steal valuable burial items. Therefore, they didn't expect to find any valuable artifacts inside this tomb. However, when they excavated the tomb, the experts were shocked to discover 80 skeletons right near the entrance of the tomb. Each skeleton was positioned differently, and beside them were tomb robbing tools. According to experts, the tools found next to the 80 bodies help prove that they were tomb robbers. After entering the ancient tomb, these robbers fell into a terrifying trap, leaving them stuck inside without a way out. A sand trap. If the robbers infiltrated the tomb, they would trigger the sand trap. Sand would continuously pour down and seal the hole they dug to enter. As a result, the robbers would either be buried alive in the sand trap or suffocate due to lack of oxygen. The research team explained that some walls and ceilings of the main burial chamber inside the ancient tomb were not built solidly. Instead, a large amount of sand was placed in these areas. If robbers dared to enter such a tomb, they would struggle to survive. The 80 tomb robbers found inside are the clearest evidence of the deadly effectiveness of ancient anti-theft traps. The 1600-year-old ghost ship reappears intact as if it sank yesterday. A shipwreck off the coast of Spain, lost for 1600 years, was recently discovered looking as intact as if it had just sunk yesterday. This is the Ses Fontanelles ship, belonging to the Romans, which was buried by fierce waves about 1,600 years ago while anchored in the Bay of Barcelona, along with its entire cargo. Since then, nothing related to the ship had been found, until surprisingly, in 2019, it was rediscovered near one of Spain's busiest beaches. Its amazing preservation astonished everyone. The ship was carrying hundreds of ancient two-handled amphorae with bulbous bodies and narrow necks used for holding wine, olives, oil, and garum. They were still intact and neatly arranged. Additionally, something puzzling was that the 12-meter-long ship lay only 50 meters from the crowded beach and sank in waters just 2 meters deep, buried shallowly in the sand. Yet, it had remained undiscovered for 16 centuries. Even more incredible, a few intact shoes, a woven piece of fabric, and many other objects were found, as though they had just sunk yesterday. The sand and the unique marine environment of the area had helped preserve the artifacts in an unbelievable state. The ship and its entire cargo are priceless treasures. However, no human remains were found on the ghost ship, suggesting that either the crew members had miraculously made it to shore or had been swept away by the waves. The 18,000 Meteorite ancient tomb of a prominent figure. The family of Mr. Tong Yun Lung, 70 years old, has lived for many generations in Dongdun Village, Changzhou City, Jiangsu Province, China. According to his memories since childhood, he has heard his grandfather tell stories about a special mound in the middle of the Bodung Pond near the village. What was particularly remarkable was that during a severe drought in 1934, for 3 whole months, the rivers and lakes everywhere had dried up. But this pond never ran dry, and the mound still proudly stood above the water. Mr. Tung affirmed that in his 70 years of life, he had never seen the pond run out of water. It would always fluctuate between being full and low. The villagers were also very curious about the mound and the mysterious pond, but it wasn't until 1980, when the Northport Brick Factory construction project was approved, that people had the opportunity to drain the pond to uncover the truth beneath it. Initially, they found numerous ancient artifacts dating back to the Three Kingdoms period. Recognizing the historical and archaeological significance of the area, the villagers reported it to the authorities, who then notified a team of archaeological experts to conduct an excavation. Using modern technology to drain the pond, they discovered a block of jade stone with the inscription Jia Kat Tu Du. Tu Du is the courtesy name of a famous historical figure, an exceptional strategist and military advisor from the Three Kingdoms period, the elder brother of Jia Kat Lung, Jia Kat Khan. The tomb at the bottom of the pond was a mound covering an area of approximately 18,000 meters with a height of 4 to 5 meters and was originally 1 meter below the surface of the pond. In addition to a jade tablet engraved with the name Jia Kat Khan, the archaeological team also found burial items such as a jade lock, jade figurines, bronze mirrors, ancient coins, and various ceramic objects. Jia Kat Khan, born in 174 and died in 241, was known by the courtesy name Tu Du. Though he was not as famous as his younger brother, Jia Kat Lung, he held an important position in the Eastern Wu court. The brother-in-law of Sun Quan, Huang Tu, admired his talent after meeting him and recommended him to Sun Quan. As a result, he became a trusted advisor to Sun Quan and had a political career that rivaled that of his brother Jia Kat Lung. Jia Kat Khan was a gentleman, respected by all, and highly regarded by Sun Quan, who frequently consulted him on major matters. In 229, when Sun Quan declared himself emperor, he appointed Jia Kat Khan as Grand General, Left Protector, and Governor of the region of Zhuzhou. Although he was a secondary character in the famous novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, he held a significant role in history. The Mummy of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Approximately 3,000 years after his burial, the mummy of Pharaoh Amenhotep I has recently been discovered by a team of researchers using CT scanning technology, which allowed them to peer through multiple layers and reveal the appearance of this ancient Egyptian king. Amenhotep I died at the age of just 35, standing 169 centimeters tall, with good teeth and a likeness to his father, with a narrow chin, small nose, curly hair, and slightly protruding upper teeth. Beneath the mummy's wrappings, scientists also found 30 amulets and a unique, exquisite gold bracelet adorned with real gold beads. Zahi Hawass, former Minister of Antiquities of Egypt and the author of the study, shared, "The mummy of Amenhotep. I wore a gold bracelet." Ancient Egyptians often wore such jewelry around their waists, with additional amulets. It is known that a research team led by French Egyptologist Gaston Maspero discovered the mummy of Amenhotep I in 1881, along with several other mummies in a tomb on the west bank of Thebes, modern-day Luxor. His mummy was placed in this tomb around 1070 to 945 BCE, after being looted sometime earlier. Using the CT scan method, researchers discovered that the pharaoh's body had been tampered with and damaged by thieves. The scans revealed that the mummy's neck had been broken, the head severed, and there was damage to the abdomen and limbs. Later, priests of Amun during the 21st dynasty attempted to restore the mummy by repositioning the dismembered limbs and using resin to bind them together before wrapping the body in new layers of bandages. However, the cause of Amenhotep I's death remains unknown. Researchers noted, "We couldn't find any wounds or deformities caused by illness that might explain the death of Pharaoh Amenhotep I." Ancient Buddha statues resurface on the Yangtze River. In the past week, many countries around the world have made unexpected archaeological discoveries, as the water levels of rivers and lakes have dropped due to droughts, exposing relics that had been lost for centuries. In China, there was a particularly remarkable find on the Yangtze River, 3 Buddha statues dating back 600 years. Local authorities later confirmed that these statues were built during the Ming and Qing dynasties. One of the statues is described as resembling a monk sitting on a lotus pedestal. Authorities explained that the severe heat wave in the Yangtze River basin, the longest river in China, lasted for more than 2 months, rapidly reducing water levels, disrupting hydroelectric power, and drying up large areas of farmland. Around 820,000 hectares of farmland from Sichuan to Anhui were damaged, affecting 830,000 people and 160,000 livestock, mainly in areas reliant on small reservoirs or mountain springs for irrigation. Prior to this, the prolonged drought across Europe had also uncovered long-submerged treasures. In Spain, archaeologists were thrilled to discover a millennia-old megalithic site, often referred to as the Stonehenge of Spain. In the Czech Republic, a stone with historical significance and ancient hydrological markings reappeared, bearing the inscription, "If you see me, weep." Additionally, some ancient settlements were revealed in several riverbeds across Europe. 600-year-old bronze mirror reflects image of Amitabha Buddha. In the minds of many who have visited the Cincinnati Art Museum, the ancient mirror from China didn't stand out much. However, recently, researchers discovered that it was an astonishing and mysterious artifact. Dr. Sung Ho Mei, the director of East Asian art at the Cincinnati Art Museum, was researching ancient artworks collected by the Ohio Museum since 1961. She then shifted her focus to a mirror dating back about 600 years. The most notable feature of the mirror was the raised Chinese characters on its back, inscribed with the name of the Buddha Amitabha. This artifact had spent decades in storage, placed alongside other ancient items that had not been publicly displayed. Its last exhibition was in 2017. During her research, Dr. Sung asked her team to shine direct light onto the center of the mirror. When the light reflected off the mirror, it revealed an image of Amitabha Buddha surrounded by rays of light. This miraculous Buddha-shaped mirror, also known as a transparent mirror, was first crafted during the Han Dynasty, 202 BCE, 220 CE in China. Due to the difficulty of production, these mirrors are extremely rare. The Shanghai Museum previously housed several mirrors made during the Han Dynasty, but experts have only recorded 2 miraculous Buddha-shaped mirrors. Both of these artifacts originate from Japan. One is currently on display at the Tokyo National Museum, while the other is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Experts explain that these magical mirrors are so rare due to the complexity of their manufacturing process. A UNESCO article once described these mirrors as being made from bronze, with designs carved on the back. The reflective surface is convex and polished. Finally, the artisans applied a mercury-based liquid to highlight the images. When the mirror is held at the correct angle to light, the copper reflects the light, revealing secret images such as Amitabha Buddha, as seen in the discovery at the Cincinnati Art Museum, a truly fascinating find. Shipwreck, near $17 billion treasure. The Colombian Navy recently announced the discovery of 2 shipwrecks near the famous Spanish San Jose shipwreck, which sank more than 300 years ago, carrying a treasure estimated to be worth over $17 billion. The San Jose ship was sunk by the British Navy off the coast of Cartagena de Indias, Colombia, in the early 18th century. The ship became famous as it was believed to be, carrying one of the most valuable treasures ever lost at sea, including chests filled with gold, silver, and other valuable artifacts. Colombian President Duque stated that the equipment used by the military had preserved the treasure on the shipwreck intact and may have been used for future excavation activities. The discovery of the San Jose shipwreck has become the focal point of legal disputes. Spain claims that the ship and its treasure are national assets since it was part of the Spanish Navy when it was sunk and is protected under UNESCO conventions. Meanwhile, in 2013, Colombia passed a law stating that shipwrecks found in its waters would be considered national heritage. Colombian officials at that time said they would make efforts to raise the shipwreck and its artifacts to display them in historical museums, but to this day, the situation remains unclear. "600-year-old wedding ring." David Board, a British metal detectorist, discovered a rare diamond-encrusted gold ring dating back 600 years while working in a field in the village of Thorncombe in Dorset County. This unique medieval piece of jewelry, believed to have noble origins, is expected to sell for between $35,000 and $47,000. The 600-year-old ring is thought to be a gift from Sir Thomas Brooke, 1355 to 1418, a wealthy 14th-century landowner, to his wife, Lady Joan. Sir Brooke served as a Member of Parliament for Somerset 13 times between 1386 and 1413. The ring features 2 twisted bands forming pointed ridges and weighs approximately 3 grams. The ring's face is adorned with a pyramid-shaped diamond, and the back is engraved with black lettering in medieval French. Board shared that a farmer friend allowed him to metal detect on the land. He was drawn to this particular field because it was quite flat. Board scanned the field twice before discovering the ring on his 3rd attempt. At first glance, the ring appeared to be a piece of candy wrapper. It is likely that Lady Brooke played lawn bowls on the field at one of her many estates in Dorset for leisure, removing the ring to avoid it getting in the way. Perhaps she was too excited from a win, or was distracted by an important message delivered by a messenger, causing her to forget to put the ring back on her finger. As a result, the ring remained undisturbed on the field for over 600 years until Board rediscovered it. Special alien weapon. Archaeologists have recently discovered a metal arrowhead at the Murrigan Archaeological site in Switzerland, made from a meteorite from outer space. Even before humans could smelt iron from natural ores, iron artifacts had already appeared in the archaeological record. These objects truly originated from beyond Earth. Though they weren't made by ancient aliens visiting the blue planet, they were made from iron fragments that fell to Earth as meteorites. Meteoric iron was used by prehistoric people in many parts of the world. Artifacts such as ritual swords, small statues, and jewelry made from meteoritic iron have been found in Turkey, Greece, Syria, Indonesia, China, and North Africa. A collection of iron beads found in a 6,000-year-old tomb predates Egypt's Iron Age by 2,000 years. In Central and Western Europe, only 2 meteoritic artifacts were previously known, one bracelet and one axe from Poland. However, a recent discovery by a team of archaeologists and geologists revealed an arrowhead that may have been made from meteorite material. The research team identified the chemical composition of the material used as an iron-nickel-aluminum alloy, using a combination of electron microscopy, X-rays, and high-energy radiation analysis. The results were then compared to known meteorite samples. The arrowhead was part of a set of other copper arrowheads found more than 100 years ago at the Morrigan Archaeological Site in Switzerland, which is now part of the Bern Historical Museum collection. The Morrigan site, a late Bronze Age settlement previously located near the lakeshore, has attracted particular interest from researchers due to the proximity of a meteorite that had fallen there. The Twanberg meteorite, consisting of 3 pieces, is the largest meteorite ever found in Switzerland. It's possible that a smaller fragment of this meteorite was discovered in prehistoric times and used in the nearby settlement to make arrowheads. However, the chemical properties didn't match. Expanding their search, researchers found that the nickel and germanium concentrations in the Morrigan arrowhead were similar to the Twanberg meteorite in Estonia, a Baltic Sea country in northern Europe. This meteorite fell about 3,500 years ago during the Bronze Age and created several small fragments. The discovery and collection of such small iron fragments is more likely than the discovery of large buried meteorites. The connection between Estonia and Switzerland also demonstrates the existence of a prehistoric European network used to trade goods such as amber as gemstones, flint for tools, and meteoritic iron. Researchers hope to find more artifacts of the same origin in other archaeological collections, which could lead to breakthroughs in their special discoveries in the future. The heaviest coffin in the world. When it comes to Chinese archaeology, it's hard to compare any ancient tomb in terms of grandeur and opulence. Many ancient tombs have been excavated, revealing countless valuable burial artifacts, such as the tombs found in the Sangsingdui site, Mawangdui, or the tomb of Haihunho. These tombs have yielded an astonishing number of national treasures. However, when it comes to the tomb with the heaviest coffin, the answer is likely the tomb of Zheng Yi in Suizhou, Hubei, China. The discovery of Zheng Yi's tomb caused a nationwide sensation because of its scale, which is many times larger than the Mawangdui tomb from the Han Dynasty in Changsha. On the 220-square-meter excavation site, numerous national treasures were found, such as the Zheng Yi bell, a 16-piece jade dragon phoenix pendant, and a bronze crane standing on antlers. Naturally, these are national treasures that have garnered significant attention in the archaeological community. But besides these artifacts, the enormous coffin in Zheng Yi's tomb also astonished experts. The coffin found in the tomb was of enormous size. After measurements, the archaeological team could hardly believe their eyes when they discovered that it weighed 9 tons. This was a shocking figure, making it the heaviest ancient coffin ever discovered. Many questions arose. In that era, with limited scientific knowledge, how could the ancient people have moved such a heavy coffin? It was indeed a difficult task, as the excavation team had to use numerous cranes to remove it. During the excavation, an 8-ton crane was used to lift the coffin, but the coffin didn't budge. Instead, the crane's tail was lifted off the ground. The coffin, weighing 9 tons, had a lid that alone weighed 2 tons. Truly astonishing. There was a small door on one side of the coffin, believed to be the entrance for the soul of Zheng Yi to enter and exit. Zheng Yi, the tomb's owner, was known as the king of the Zheng state, also called the Sui state, a vassal state of the Zhou dynasty during the spring and autumn period. According to historical records, Zheng was a small state located next to the mighty state of Chu. Fearing that the king of Chu might destroy them at any time, Zheng Yi would bring large amounts of gold and treasures, along with many beautiful women, to present to the king of Chu every year. However, after Zheng Yi died of illness, his descendants had nothing valuable to offer to Chu, leading to the eventual destruction of Zheng by the Chu state. Furthermore, research by archaeologists and historians has revealed that Zheng Yi was actually a very dishonorable man. The cultural relics excavated from his tomb bear his mark, but many of them have been altered with engravings. For example, on a bronze dish from Zheng Yi, experts discovered the name of his grandfather, but he had modified it to carve his own name. This was considered an act of filial disrespect in ancient times. Even more heartbreaking for experts was the discovery of 22 other coffins in the tomb. Among them, 21 contained the remains of young women, with the oldest being only 26 and the youngest about 13. The tallest woman was around 160 centimeters, while the shortest was just over 140 centimeters. In one coffin, the remains of a dog, Apparently a favorite pet of Zheng Ho Yi were also found. Were these 21 young women buried with Zheng Ho Yi, or did they die for other reasons? Experts believe it is highly likely that they were buried with him. If this is true, it would be a deeply disturbing practice of human sacrifice. This custom persisted until the Qing dynasty, which is truly frightening, isn't it? The 2,500-year-old coffins made from rare wood. In 2008, Chinese archaeologists began excavating a tomb site dating back 2,500 years, located in Ligia Village, Jing'an County, in Jiangxi Province, eastern China. They made a truly remarkable discovery. This tomb contained 47 coffins made from the rare and precious Nanmu wood. The tomb was impressive in size, measuring 16 meters in length, about 11.5 meters in width, and 3 meters in depth. It was identified as belonging to the Eastern Zhou dynasty, which lasted from 770 to 221 BCE. This is considered to be the largest group of coffins ever discovered in a single tomb, which led experts and media to call it the most important archaeological project of the year. Archaeologists quickly opened the first 9 coffins, but unfortunately, they had suffered some damage due to decay and the intervention of tomb robbers. However, as the remaining coffins were opened, the team was in for a big surprise. They found a nearly intact human skeleton, along with many valuable artifacts such as bronze, gold, silk, porcelain, and jade. These coffins ranged in size from 2.5 to 2.8 meters long and about 0.5 meters wide, arranged in a specific order, lined up one after another within the tomb. Fan Chengsheng, the director of the Jiangxi Provincial Archaeological Institute, stated that all of the coffins have been moved to a preservation facility where the temperature and environmental conditions are tightly controlled to ensure the best preservation of these valuable artifacts. This will also make it easier for archaeologists to study the characteristics of the remains, determine the causes of death of the individuals in the tomb, as well as the burial period and why they were buried together. However, to fully unravel these mysteries, it will take considerable time, as only limited remains are left. So let's wait for more updates. The mysterious red coffins that left. Archaeologists regretful. 17 years ago, an unexpected event occurred in Henan Province, China, when a local resident discovered 2 red coffins while digging a foundation for a house. When news of this discovery spread, the villagers, believing in spiritual omens, thought this was a bad sign and decided to burn the coffins. This decision deeply saddened archaeologists. According to experts, both coffins were made from rare and precious wood, which only the wealthy and powerful could afford at that time. Additionally, the craftsmen had painted the exterior of the coffins with a red lacquer, giving them a blood-like appearance and a very distinctive look. Surprisingly, despite being centuries old, the red paint on the coffins had barely faded and retained its vivid color. Archaeologists estimated that the value of the 2 coffins was about 300 million yuan, a huge sum indicating the significance of these artifacts. However, due to the villagers' ignorance and fear, the coffins were completely burned. This loss was a great regret for experts, as if the coffins had been preserved, they could have gathered important information about the individuals buried inside, such as their identities, gender, age, and even the cause of death. This would have helped to shed light on many historical mysteries. The loss of these valuable relics meant that a part of history was buried with them, which is truly unfortunate, isn't it? 1,200-year-old hanging coffins. An impressive archaeological discovery was made in Hubei Province, China, when archaeologists uncovered a hanging tomb site with 131 coffins believed to be around 1,200 years old. The site is located near the Three Gorges Dam, and the coffins are suspended on the side of a high mountain, about 100 meters above the ground. According to the archaeologists, this is one of the most significant discoveries related to the custom of hanging coffins, an ancient burial tradition practiced by the Bo ethnic group in southern China. In this custom, the deceased are buried on steep cliffs or high mountains. This practice dates back thousands of years and has been recognized as an integral part of the spiritual life of ancient communities in China. These coffins, which date back to the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, were placed on the cliffs because the Bo people believed that burying the dead at high altitudes would protect them from wild animals and help the souls of the deceased rest peacefully. Although archaeologists have determined the tomb's age, a significant question remains. How could ancient people have carried such heavy coffins up such high cliffs without modern technology? This remains an unsolved mystery. The coffin of the Empress's granddaughter. While modern society continues to develop, with high-rise buildings sprouting like mushrooms in Xi'an, China, mysterious discoveries are still being made as underground construction projects get underway. In 1957, workers at a construction site discovered an ancient tomb buried underground. When the discovery was made, archaeologists quickly arrived on the scene and confirmed that this was a rare royal tomb from the Northern Zhou dynasty, 581 to 619 CE, during the Sui dynasty. The tomb belonged to Li Jingxuan, the 9-year-old granddaughter of Empress Yang Lihua. Upon her death, Empress Yang Lihua was so shocked and saddened by the loss of her granddaughter that she ordered Li Jingxuan to be buried in a coffin larger than that of the Sui Emperor Yang Jian. The coffin, made of stone, was skillfully crafted by a renowned artisan of the time and had a palace-style design. The dome of the coffin was meticulously carved, and archaeologists have stated that its value is incalculable. Inside the coffin, they also discovered a large number of precious items. Since the tomb's owner was a 9-year-old girl, most of the items were finely crafted jewelry, particularly a necklace made of pearls and precious stones. Additionally, there were many valuable jewels found inside the coffin, leaving archaeologists stunned by their unmeasurable worth. However, what really sent shivers down everyone's spine was the inscription on the lid of the coffin, which read, Kai Jia Zisi, meaning that anyone who opens the coffin would die. This inscription added an extra layer of mystery to the ancient tomb. Many archaeologists believe that this is the reason why the tomb had remained undisturbed for over 1,400 years, as no one dared to steal from it due to the curse written on the coffin lid. Some theorize that the inscription was a protective gesture by the Empress to safeguard her beloved granddaughter's tomb after her death, with no other intention behind it. What do you think about the meaning of these 4 characters? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. The 10-year unopened golden coffin. Over 10 years ago, a remarkable archaeological discovery stirred excitement among experts when Chinese archaeologists unearthed a rare golden coffin in Taiyuan, Shanxi province. This discovery happened by chance during the restoration of Longquan Temple, when workers unexpectedly found an ancient tomb while carrying out construction. Upon notifying the authorities, archaeologists quickly arrived at the scene and confirmed that the tomb was indeed an ancient burial site of considerable size. As they dug deeper into the tomb, experts uncovered a unique structure. 5 coffins nested perfectly inside one another. Each coffin was made from a different material, including stone, wood, bronze, silver, and most notably, gold. Among these, the golden coffin attracted the most attention from specialists. Not only was it crafted from precious gold, but it also featured intricate carvings, indicating that it likely belonged to someone of significant status, possibly a member of the royal family or a high-ranking official. Curious about what might lie inside the golden coffin, the archaeologists decided to take it to a laboratory for further study. However, opening the coffin presented a significant challenge. To remove the lid, experts would have to untie a special red silk ribbon tied around the coffin. But once this ribbon was removed, its original integrity would be compromised. Moreover, opening the coffin could lead to oxidation, damaging the priceless artifacts inside. As a result, after more than a decade, the golden coffin has still not been opened. Experts are hopeful that in the future, a method will be found to examine the interior without harming these valuable relics. This rare golden coffin is not only a tremendously important archaeological find, but also raises intriguing questions about the history and culture of China during the Tang dynasty, particularly regarding powerful individuals in ancient society. The floating coffin in the ancient tomb. In October 2005, while constructing dormitories on the campus of Chengdu College in Nanjing, China, workers unexpectedly discovered an ancient tomb about 1.5 meters underground. They quickly notified the authorities, and archaeologists were called in to conduct an excavation. As soon as the excavation began, experts discovered that the tomb, made of brick, dated back to the Yongle period of the Ming Dynasty, 1403 to 1424. The tomb measured 7.03 meters in length and contained a 0.13-meter-long tunnel that led to 3 interconnected chambers. Each chamber had a vaulted ceiling 2.28 meters high. However, the most surprising discovery occurred when the experts entered the central chamber of the tomb and were astonished to find a coffin floating in mid-air. The 2.8-meter-long coffin was suspended by 4 iron chains connected to the 4 corners of the walls, with each chain measuring up to 70 meters in length. Using their expertise, the archaeologists quickly realized that the hanging coffin might be related to Taoist beliefs, especially the practice of immortality cultivation. Ancient people believed that placing a corpse high up would allow the soul to remain free and achieve immortality. From this, the experts speculated that the tomb's owner was likely a Taoist practitioner. Moreover, inside the tomb, the archaeologists discovered a lamp that had burned continuously for centuries without extinguishing. Some believed that the flame's purpose was to guide the soul of the deceased to the afterlife. As they continued their search, the experts also uncovered an inscription, which identified the tomb's owner as Yang Qing, a eunuch who lived during the reign of Emperor Ming Chengzu. This discovery not only sheds light on the religious practices and customs of the Ming Dynasty, but also stirs curiosity about the mysteries of ancient Chinese culture. If you're fascinated by ancient history and eager to explore the past, this discovery will surely captivate your imagination. The coffin leaking blood-like liquid. 4 years ago, during the excavation for the foundation of a house in Guizhou Province, China, a family discovered a large stone slab beneath the ground. When they removed the slab, they unexpectedly uncovered an ancient tomb. However, what startled them was the sight of a red liquid leaking from the coffin inside the tomb. The family quickly notified the authorities. Upon receiving the report, officials and archaeologists arrived at the site. After examination, the archaeologists determined that the tomb dated back to the Ming Dynasty. What was even more intriguing was that the coffin was decorated with 5-clawed dragon patterns, a symbol that was reserved exclusively for the emperor in imperial China. This discovery raised questions among experts. Could the tomb's owner have been a king? In addition to the 5-clawed dragon patterns, the coffin was also carved with images of the dragon, phoenix, tortoise, and the phoenix birds. When the coffin was opened, the experts were surprised to find 2 sets of remains and several valuable burial items, including pearls and gemstones. Unfortunately, the red liquid that leaked from the coffin had caused some damage to the remains. However, a stone inscription found within the tomb helped confirm the identity of the tomb's owner as Mao Zhaofeng, an official during the Ming Dynasty. Mao Zhaofeng held the position of Anfu Ti in Shaodong, Ba Prefecture, Sichuan Province, China. During the feudal period, an Anfu Ti was a local official responsible for managing the areas inhabited by ethnic minorities, regions rarely inspected by high-ranking officials due to their remote locations. As a result, the Anfu Ti was considered the highest authority in the area, and the local population viewed them as kings. With great power in the rural and isolated regions, Mao Zhaofeng had the audacity to have a 5-clawed dragon pattern carved onto his coffin, knowing that the imperial court would not inspect his tomb. The burial goods, such as pearls and gemstones, may have been gifts bestowed by the imperial court. As for the red liquid leaking from the coffin, experts explained that it was water that had soaked into the coffin over time, causing the red paint to fade, and not blood as many had initially thought. The coffin, releasing a unique fragrance. At a construction site in Nangshan County, Anhui Province, China, a worker driving an excavator accidentally uncovered an unusually large ancient tomb buried 4 meters underground. The site manager immediately halted the construction and reported the discovery to local authorities. Soon after, an archaeological team arrived, sealed off the area, and began excavating the mysterious tomb. Beneath the soil, the experts found 2 coffins, coffin number 1 and coffin number 2. Coffin number 1 was quite simple, containing few burial items, and the body inside had long since decomposed. However, coffin number 2 was far more noteworthy. The coffin was covered in a thick layer of yellow clay about 30 centimeters deep, and it was difficult to open. This coffin had 2 outer layers of wooden cases, with the outermost layer coated in bronze-colored paint and made of cypress wood, which was resistant to termites. The 2 layers were separated by 40 centimeters of lime. Inside was a crimson coffin made from tring nam wood, a species native to China, measuring 241 centimeters long, 70 centimeters wide, and 75 centimeters high. What was astonishing was that when the coffin was opened, a unique fragrance wafted from inside, spreading around the area. Even more surprising, when they looked inside, the archaeologists found the well-preserved body of a woman dressed in Qing dynasty attire. The corpse was remarkably well-preserved, as if it had just been buried recently. The woman's hair was styled in a bun at the back of her head, her muscles were still intact, and even her joints were flexible, allowing movement. A perfectly preserved body like this is rare in Chinese archaeological history. According to data from Kalishi, the mummy was 164 centimeters tall, weighed 44 kilograms, had a slender build, and a round face. Her feet were bound in the 3-inch lotus step style, and her nails were painted red. The experts determined that she was likely about 30 years old when she was buried, and must have been a beauty of the Qing dynasty. However, upon closer examination, they found a deep T-shaped wound on her neck, seemingly caused by a sword. This was the only wound on her body, indicating that she did not resist when the fatal blow was struck. The experts speculated that she might have committed a serious crime, leading to her execution. This sword wound was confirmed as the cause of death and served as a historical clue to uncover the true identity of the tomb's occupant. The tomb's burial goods were lavish, including gold and silver jewelry, a string of gemstone beads, and coins from the reign of Emperor Kangxi. However, no inscription was found, making it difficult for the experts to determine the exact identity of the mummy. As a result, the identity of the woman remains a mystery to this day, making the tomb one of China's greatest unsolved archaeological enigmas. 13,000-year-old human remains. Along the eastern banks of the Nile River, near the Jebel Sahaba area in northern Sudan, archaeologists discovered a prehistoric burial site containing the remains of around 60 people, dating back 13,000 years. This could very well be the evidence of the first war in human history. Excavations, which began in 1964 under the direction of archaeologist Fred Wendorf, uncovered the remains of men, women, and children. Later, with funding from UNESCO, the excavation was expanded to search for archaeological sites submerged by the construction of the Aswan Dam. This discovery not only holds great significance for the field of archaeology, but also opens a new door to understanding ancient warfare. Researchers from the University of Bordeaux and the British Museum carefully studied the artifacts and found traces of arrows on the skulls and bones of the victims. These marks indicate that the victims died from weapons, specifically arrows, in attacks that lasted for months or even years. This suggests that the conflict was large-scale and prolonged. Additionally, studies revealed that the victims were from the Sahara region, ancestors of modern black Africans, while their adversaries were from North Africa, the Levant, and Europe. The stark physical differences between the two groups, long limbs and broad noses of the Saharan people and shorter limbs with flat faces of the North African Levantine group, indicated a clear racial distinction. Scientists speculate that the harsh climate at the time led to dwindling water resources, which in turn triggered the conflict as different groups fought over areas along the Nile River. The oldest mummified child. You may have heard that Egypt is famous for its well-preserved ancient mummies, but a recent discovery in Africa has changed the way we view the history of mummification. In the southwestern desert mountains of Libya, archaeologists uncovered the mummified remains of a child named Tashwinot, which existed over 1,000 years before Egypt's famous mummies. This discovery stunned the scientific community and raised questions about unexplored ancient civilizations. In the winter of 1958, archaeologist Fabrizio Mori conducted an expedition at an ancient shelter in the Uan Muhugiag cave system, an area once inhabited by pastoralists. There, he not only found rock art depicting animals and humans from different periods, but also discovered a strange bundle containing the mummified remains of a child. The child's body was wrapped in leaves and possibly goat or antelope skin, and underwent a sophisticated mummification process in which the organs were removed and replaced with herbs to preserve the body. Analysis determined that Tashwinot's remains date back between 5400 and 5600 years, meaning it predates the famous Egyptian mummies by thousands of years. What's particularly remarkable is that the child, about 3 years old at the time of death, was buried in a fetal position, a custom of special significance. This discovery indicates that mummification practices existed in the Sahara, which at that time had a much wetter climate than it does today. Moreover, the cave paintings in the area depict animals such as elephants, giraffes, and crocodiles, reflecting the richness of the ancient ecosystem. This raises the possibility that the mummification practices in Unopened may have influenced later Egyptian mummification traditions. The mummified remains of Tashwinot not only represent an important archaeological discovery, but also demonstrate that Africa's mummification culture has a longer and more complex history than previously thought. A 2-billion-year-old nuclear reactor. Nuclear technology, which seems to have been developed only in the 20th century, actually has strange traces from ancient times dating back 2 billion years. This secret was uncovered in 1972 when a worker at a nuclear fuel processing plant noticed something unusual in a uranium sample from the Oklo mine in Gabon, West Africa. Experts then identified a small but significant difference. While the natural uranium-235 ratio is 0.720%, the Oklo sample contained only 0.717%, slightly lower than the normal level. Although the difference was small, it raised questions about the cause. As a result, scientists from the French Atomic Energy Commission (CEA) began investigating and made an unbelievable discovery. This uranium came from a natural nuclear reactor that operated around 1.8 billion years ago. This meant that an ancient nuclear reactor existed underground, capable of sustaining a natural nuclear reaction for about 500,000 years. Furthermore, other surveys revealed that this ancient reactor was not like any modern nuclear reactor. Despite its size of several kilometers, its thermal impact was limited to only about 40 meters. Even more surprising was that radioactive waste remained contained within the area, thanks to the special geology of the mine. Additionally, the nuclear reaction process occurred naturally and was perfectly controlled, without explosions or sudden energy releases. The question then becomes, how can the existence of this reactor be explained? Who created it, and for what purpose? These remain unanswered questions, beyond our current understanding. Some researchers suggest that the uranium enrichment process may have occurred 1.8 billion years ago, with natural water playing a role in heat reduction similar to modern reactors. However, to this day, the natural nuclear reactor at Oklo remains a great scientific mystery, regarded as the holy grail of nuclear research, suggesting that an ancient civilization may have possessed nuclear technology far beyond our imagination. Alien Cemetery. In an excavation near Kigali, the capital of Rwanda in Central Africa, a group of archaeologists discovered a mysterious burial site containing hundreds of bodies with strange shapes, unlike modern humans. The skeletons found in this jungle had unique characteristics, sparking the theory that these could be beings from another planet who may have crashed on Earth and died here. Scientists say these bodies date back about 500 years and were well preserved. However, what perplexed them was that there was no evidence that this site was ever inhabited by humans. Among the 40 collective graves, about 200 bodies were found. Archaeologists believe they might be alien beings who possibly died from viruses on Earth to which they had no immunity. However, no signs of a spacecraft crash or any debris were found in the vicinity. This is not the first time strange graves have been found. In the summer of 1937, a group of Chinese scientists led by Professor Chi Pute discovered caves in the Bayan Kara Ula Mountains. Inside the caves, they found skeletons with very large heads and odd bodies. Nearby, they discovered 176 stone tablets inscribed with ancient characters and drawings of the sun, moon, and stars, along with signs suggesting a meteorite impact from about 12,000 years ago. Additionally, in Turkey, a strange Ice Age mummy was found, with a small body, pale skin, and tiny transparent wings. Despite its unusual appearance, this mummy had human-like features, including large, colorless eyes resembling those of a snake. Not long ago, in one of Egypt's ancient tombs, A mummy over 2.5 meters tall was discovered, with no nose or ears, a wide mouth, and no tongue. According to archaeologist Gaston de Villars, mummification techniques emerged around 4,000 years ago. The person buried was an Egyptian noble, surrounded by the mummies of servants, food, and many items meant to ensure a smooth transition to the afterlife. However, it was noticed that not all burial items belong to Egyptian culture or any known earth culture. For example, among the grave goods were shiny discs inscribed with strange symbols, clothes made of metal, and shoes resembling plastic. The tomb sanctuary also contained a strange mummy. Many of the ceremonial items were made from materials unknown in ancient times. The flat stone slabs were carefully cut from solid rock, making the tomb walls smooth and shiny, as if they were cut with modern laser technology. In some places, the stone surfaces had been melted to bond together. The tomb was decorated with materials similar to lead. However, the theory that extraterrestrials were involved is not the only explanation. Some researchers propose another theory, that these giants and little people could have been a branch of humanity that once coexisted with us but was wiped out for some reason, and these strange remains are merely part of the mysterious history of humankind. The mysterious ancient stonefield. Located in southern Ethiopia near the town of Tia, the ancient stonefield of Tia is an archaeological site full of mystery, which has puzzled international researchers for decades. Discovered in 1935, it consists of a group of 36 upright stone slabs dating back to around the 13th to 11th century BC. Among these, 32 slabs are engraved with mysterious symbols, the most prominent being the shape of a sword. Other geometric symbols, human figures, and weapons also appear, but the true meaning of these symbols has yet to be deciphered. As a result, many believe this may be one of the greatest mysteries in archaeology, prompting ongoing efforts to find answers. Initial assessments suggest that the Tia site could be a burial ground of prehistoric East African inhabitants. The markings indicate some connection with ancient warriors. Interestingly, nearby, archaeologists have also discovered some skeletons dating to around the 14th century, although these individuals were not the creators of the Yegron Dingay slabs. However, it is possible they came to Tia and used the area as a temporary military camp during conflicts. This suggests that in the past there was a flourishing culture in Ethiopia, with the stone slabs not only serving as tools for recording information, but also as unique works of art. To say that the Tia stone field is an important archaeological destination, demonstrating the complexity and diversity of ancient civilizations in East Africa, is not an exaggeration. With its exceptional historical and cultural value, the site has been recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, marking a significant step in the preservation of human heritage. The city in the wild forest. Deep within the Arabuko-Sokoke rainforest on the northern coast of Kenya lies one of Africa's most mysterious archaeological treasures, the ancient city of Gedi. Although the city was discovered long ago, it remains an unsolved puzzle for historians and archaeologists. Once a bustling economic, cultural, and political center of the Swahili people, Gedi had a population of around 2,500 people and was built around the 13th century, flourishing for several hundred years afterward. The remaining ruins indicate a large city, with houses, castles, mosques, tombs, and cemeteries spread across 45 acres, about 18 kilometers, a significant size for medieval African cities. However, the strange thing is that Gedi is not mentioned in any local historical records. It does not appear in the folk stories, which were the common method of recording history in the region. Another puzzling aspect is that, despite clear signs of a busy trading hub, with large roads and warehouses, the city is located far from the sea, hidden in the dense forest. Even the Portuguese, who had been in the Malindi area for a long time, seem to have never heard of Gedi. The biggest mystery of Gedi is the sudden disappearance of its entire population around the 17th century. There is no evidence of war, disease, or natural disasters, common causes of large-scale migrations. The vast and prosperous city suddenly became a ghost town, left to be ravaged by time and moss. Local people believe Gedi is a haunted city, home to evil spirits. As a result, many big questions remain unanswered, such as why this mysterious city was suddenly abandoned and where its people went. Do you know anything about this mysterious city? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. 230-million-year-old dinosaur fossil. In 2022, paleontologists discovered the fossil of a rare omnivorous dinosaur that lived around 230 million years ago in Zimbabwe, Africa. They believe this discovery marks a turning point in prehistoric research. The dinosaur, named Empress rothi, stood about 1 meter tall and weighed approximately 30 kilograms. It had a small head, a flexible body, and a long tail, enabling it to move on 2 legs like other fast-running dinosaurs. According to Christopher Griffin, the lead author of the study from Yale University, Empress rothi was an omnivore, with a diet that included both plants and small animals like insects. This suggests the dinosaur was adaptable to its environment. The fossil was found in Mbire district, northeastern Zimbabwe, where Michael Rath, the paleontologist who first reported the discovery, conducted excavations. What makes this discovery especially remarkable is that fossils from this period, 230 million years ago, are extremely rare, with fossils from this time typically only found in a few locations worldwide, such as South America and India. This discovery further supports the theory that, during the late Triassic period, the continents of today were once part of a single landmass known as Pangaea. This explains the similarities between Empress rothi and other dinosaurs from the same period found in Brazil and Argentina. This find not only fills gaps in the fossil record of early dinosaurs, but also expands our understanding of the distribution and development of dinosaurs in the past. Today, a nearly complete skeleton of Empress rothi is preserved at the Zimbabwe Museum of Natural History in Bulawayo. If you're interested in the past, you can visit the museum to explore this fascinating discovery. Ancient giant human footprints. In a recent excavation in southern Africa, archaeologists discovered a giant human footprint measuring up to 120 centimeters in length. This discovery created a stir in the scientific community as it could be evidence of the existence of giants in prehistoric times. When images of the large footprint were shown in the media, many people were skeptical and argued that the vertical print could not have been made by humans on the rock face. However, after thorough examination, experts confirmed that the footprint is millions of years old and has undergone several geological changes. Further analysis revealed that, over time, the rock layers in the area experienced intense tectonic movement, causing the rock face to tilt and shift from a horizontal to a vertical position. This helped preserve the footprint intact, even though it was no longer positioned horizontally as it originally was. Another theory proposed is that the giant footprint was created not on clay or sand, but on solidified magma. If the footprint had been made on soft ground, it would have been easily erased by prolonged rainfall. But on the hardened magma, the imprint remains clearly visible after millions of years. This giant footprint not only surprises scientists, but also raises theories about the existence of giant creatures in ancient times, a mystery that scientists have yet to fully explain. Do you think that there really was a race of giants? What are your thoughts on this question? 210,000-year-old human skull. On July 11, 2019, a groundbreaking discovery in the field of archaeology was announced when a fossilized modern human skull, Homo sapiens, dating back 210,000 years, was found outside of Africa. This is the oldest fossil of modern humans discovered to date, providing a new perspective on the migration of our ancestors from the African continent. The research, published in Nature, offers valuable insights into how early humans inhabited and lived on the Eurasian continent. Previously, southeastern Europe was considered the primary migration corridor for modern humans out of Africa, but the earliest evidence of modern humans in this region was only about 50,000 years old. Meanwhile, Neanderthals, a close relative of Homo sapiens, had appeared in Europe much earlier. Neanderthal fossils have been found in various locations across the continent since the 1970s, including 2 skulls discovered in the Apodema cave in Greece. The first skull, named Apodema II, is dated to be 170,000 years old and belonged to a Neanderthal. However, the second skull, Apodema I, surprised researchers by dating back 210,000 years, making it 40,000 years older than the Neanderthal fossil. This made it the oldest modern human fossil ever found outside of Africa. This discovery strengthens the hypothesis that modern humans migrated from Africa to Eurasia in multiple waves rather than in a single migration event. Scientists believe that modern humans did not leave Africa just once, but made several trips over tens of thousands of years, although not all of these migrations led to permanent settlements. As a result, this fossil, along with genetic studies and modern technologies, is gradually unveiling the mysteries of the Great Migration journey of human ancestors. The 500-year-old giant treasure. In 2008, archaeologists discovered a shipwreck dating back about 500 years, filled with gold bars, ivory, and gold coins. The ship was found off the southern coast of Africa. The treasure was uncovered during mining operations by a diamond company called Namdeb, located in the Atlantic Ocean. The discovery quickly attracted widespread attention from the scientific community and international media. Experts conducted further studies of the treasure and estimated that the shipwreck occurred around the late 15th or early 16th century, during the time when renowned explorers such as Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus were embarking on their journeys to explore the New World. Based on the Spanish and Portuguese gold coins, along with the rudimentary maritime equipment and cannon designs, archaeologists hypothesized that the ship sank during the era of these famous explorations. Namdeb also revealed that among the finds, there were possible human remains and some royal decorative items, which may have belonged to a ship commanded by Bartolomeu Dias, the Portuguese explorer who perished in a shipwreck at the Cape of Good Hope in 1500. This discovery has sparked further questions about the voyages of explorers from that era and the treasures they carried. It serves as a valuable testament to the intersection of European and African civilizations during the Age of Exploration. The mysterious miniature mummies in 17 coffins. When we think of mummies, the first thing that comes to mind is usually Egypt, the land of the pharaohs with its ancient art of mummification. However, in the legendary land of Arthur's Seat in the United Kingdom, there are also famous and mysterious mummies. These are not the mummies of kings or humans, but rather mummies of strange little figures. Arthur's Seat is a hill located to the east of Edinburgh Castle in the city of Edinburgh, Scotland. It is one of the UK's legendary landmarks, believed to be the site of the legendary Camelot Castle, owned by the famous King Arthur. In 1836, one of the most shocking discoveries in the Western world occurred here. The London Times, in its issue from July 20th of that year, described a strange event as follows. 5 boys, while hunting rabbits at Arthur's Seat, discovered a strange rock face. Somehow, they ventured into a small cave there and found 17 miniature mummies. Each mummy was only 3 to 4 inches long. The 5 boys were completely stunned. Unlike the usual large mummies wrapped in white bandages, the mummies at Arthur's Seat were very small. More specifically, these were 17 wooden figure mummies, each with its corresponding coffin. Each figure had meticulously crafted clothing, just like a real person. According to the description, the 17 mummies were arranged in 3 rows, with 2 rows containing 8 mummies each and 1 row with a single mummy. This arrangement was a perplexing structure, never seen before in history. Although there were many questions surrounding the mummies at the time of their discovery, for some unknown reason, the story gradually faded into obscurity over the next 60 years. Initially, even the 5 boys who made the discovery didn't seem to care much about what they had found. A newspaper article published in the London Times in 1836 reported that the boys had burned the small wooden coffins immediately after finding them. Fortunately, a professor named Ferguson came to the rescue, saving the coffins. He took them home and was the first to open the small boxes, discovering the mummies inside. After this point, historical records of the study of the 17 miniature mummies disappeared. According to local accounts, the mummies were gradually collected by a few individuals and were lost without anyone noticing. The story of the miniature mummies of Arthur's Seat faded into oblivion. In 1901, 65 years after the discovery, the miniature mummies reappeared. This time, 8 of the 17 coffins were found and donated to the National Museum of Scotland. This was also when serious research into the mystery of the miniature mummies began. Upon investigation, the mummies were found to be made from carved wood. They all shared the characteristic of having one missing arm. According to scientists, the likely reason for the missing arm was to allow the creator to easily sew and dress them. Additionally, among the 8 remaining mummies, only 3 were carefully smoothed, with rounded edges. Archaeologists concluded that at least 2 people must have collaborated to create these mummies. Furthermore, through research by experts Simpson and Menifee on the clothing of the mummies, they confirmed that these creations could not have been made before 1812, the year cotton replaced linen in Scotland. Many theories have been proposed to explain the origin of these miniature mummies. Local people believe that they were figurines used for witchcraft, or simply amulets made by Scottish sailors before they set sail. However, both of these ideas are more mystical and lack evidence. The mummified corpse turns black after coffin is opened. Archaeologists recently discovered and excavated several coffins buried 6.5 feet deep in an ancient cemetery in Xiangcheng, Henan Province, in central China on October 10th. Upon opening the coffins, the research team found 2 skeletons and a male body in a perfectly preserved state, particularly the face. However, within just a few hours after the coffins were opened, the skin on the face and body of the mummy began to turn black and emit a foul odor. The mummy is believed to be about 300 years old, dating back to the Qing dynasty, from 1644 to 1912. It has since been transferred to a university in Henan for further study. Historian Dong Xiong stated, "The clothing on the body suggests the individual was a high-ranking official from the early Qing dynasty. What is astonishing is how the aging process, which would normally take hundreds of years, happened in just one day after exposure to the environment." Dr. Lucas Nicol, a specialist in Chinese archaeology and art at the University of London, remarked that the preservation of the mummy was entirely accidental and not intentional. He said, "Ancient Chinese people did not do anything to preserve and treat the bodies of the deceased the way the Egyptians did. However, they made efforts to protect the bodies by placing them in large coffins and sturdy tombs, as the integrity of the body was very important to the Chinese. In ancient China, people believed the deceased would continue to live in their tombs. Sometimes, bodies from the Qing dynasty were preserved due to the natural conditions around the coffins. In the case of this newly discovered mummy, the body was placed in a lacquered coffin covered in graphite, which was very common at the time. This ensured that bacteria could not penetrate the coffin." Dr. Nicol further explained that once the coffin was opened and air from the outside came into contact with the body, the natural decomposition process began, causing the mummy to turn black and decay rapidly. Meanwhile, Professor Dong Xiong proposed an alternative hypothesis regarding the preservation of the newly discovered mummy. It is possible that the man's family used certain materials to preserve his body. Once the coffin was opened, the natural decomposition process may have started. Currently, archaeologists and scientists are doing their best to preserve the state of the mummy, hoping to uncover new insights about this ancient mummified body. The demon-faced monster reveals itself in the heart of the river. While digging along the dry riverbed in northern Florida, a research team from the Florida Museum of Natural History unearthed the fossilized bones of several elephant species that lived during the Miocene epoch, a geological period that spanned from 23 million to 5.33 million years ago. The most remarkable discovery was that the dominant species in this elephant graveyard was the Gomphothere, a demon-faced beast that roamed the area now known as Florida in large numbers around 6 million years ago. These extinct creatures weighed between 8,800 and 11,000 pounds, about the size of a modern African elephant, but their faces resembled descriptions from monster movies. In addition to the large, sharp tusks growing from their upper jaws, they also had a shorter pair of tusks curving upward from their lower jaws, creating a terrifying appearance. The monster was found in a position as if it had lain down and died, with its bones still in their original positions, almost as though it had been carefully buried. It was an adult Gomphothere, possibly dating back 6 million years, with a height of 7.9 feet and a skull length, including the tusks, of over 8.9 feet. This particular Gomphothere was larger than any of its kind ever recovered from anywhere in the world. It was described as being as large as the African elephant, an animal weighing over 13,000 pounds and measuring up to 13 feet long when fully grown. It is unclear why so many Gomphotheres, along with other animals including elephants and unrelated species, gathered at the riverbed in the Montbrook area. However, researchers have proposed a hypothesis. Similar to modern elephants, elderly and sick ancient monsters may have intentionally laid down near familiar water sources. Over centuries, floods could have carried the bones of other species on top of them, creating a diverse, multi-layered natural graveyard. Of course, this is just an initial hypothesis, and the true reason remains a mystery, challenging the understanding of scientists worldwide. The Cemetery of the Grinning Mummies. In a desolate region of the Nazca Desert, about 18.6 miles from the city of Nazca, Peru, there lies a strange cemetery that, when mentioned, sends chills down the spine of many people. This is the Chowchilla Cemetery, a site that holds skeletons more than 1,000 years old, with a particularly eerie feature. Each skeleton has its jaw wide open as if smiling, creating a mysterious and haunting image. This site fuels the stories of death and the spooky legends surrounding the area, making them even more elusive and difficult to explain. The Chowchilla Cemetery is not a recent discovery. It has existed since the 9th century, during the height of the Nazca civilization. This civilization was known for its strange landmarks, especially the massive drawings etched into the earth, but it mysteriously disappeared around the year 800. The fall of the Nazca civilization remains a question with no clear answer. Many believe that the harsh desertification may have been a significant factor in its decline. The Chowchilla Cemetery, buried beneath the desert for centuries, was rediscovered in the early 20th century. It quickly became the subject of both mystery and fear when archaeological excavations uncovered dry skeletons sitting, leaning against each other, as if engaged in an eternal meeting. Scientists have hypothesized that ancient people may have buried the deceased in a sitting position as a mark of respect for the dead, but the most bizarre aspect is that the skeletons always have their mouths wide open, as though they are grinning from their graves. Another surprising and inexplicable feature is the remarkable preservation of the bones. Even though they have rested in tombs for over 1,000 years, the hair of these skeletons remains intact, soft, and not decayed. This leads many to believe that the native people of the area might have known how to take advantage of the dry, hot desert climate to preserve the bodies without needing the mummification methods used by other civilizations. Adding to the mystery, excavations have revealed that large tombs, buried deep beneath the desert, may have been the final resting places of tribal leaders or powerful figures. However, most of these tombs had been looted, with valuable possessions taken, leaving behind the grinning skeletons as a grim reminder of the cruelty and mysteries of the land. The Chowchilla Cemetery is not just an exceptional archaeological site, but also a place full of mysteries that still need to be unraveled. The strange skeletons, with their eerie grins, remain a great enigma for scientists and anyone who visits this haunting land. What do you think is the reason for these people's mouths being wide open after death? For me, it's really hard to answer. But whatever the reason, it is precisely the strangeness and mystery that have made Chowchilla one of the most fascinating places, attracting not only researchers, but also those who love exploring the unexplained wonders of the world. The most mysterious tiny mummy in history. In the summer of 1934, in central Wyoming, Cecil Main and Frank Carr, two gold prospectors, were searching for their fortune in a deep crevice in the Pedro Mountains. They decided to use dynamite to blast a path into what they suspected was a long-sealed cave. The large explosion blew away the debris, revealing the entrance to the hidden cave. Main crawled into the narrow opening, the cave's interior barely wide enough to accommodate a wardrobe. Although there were clear signs of human presence, they found no gold or valuables. After searching every corner of the cave with growing disappointment, Main discovered something odd placed on a rocky ledge: a mummy. It appeared to be an elderly man sitting on a rock, eyes closed, arms crossed over his chest, and legs curled beneath his body. His skin was dark brown, wrinkled, and dried out due to the dry climate in the area. His forehead was low, his eyes were large, his nose broad, his mouth wide, and his face had a grim, worried expression. In general, the mummy looked like an old, frail, unattractive man. What was strange, however, was the mummy's tiny size. This was clearly the body of a tiny person, standing only about 8 inches tall and weighing roughly 1 pound. At that moment, the two clumsy gold miners had no idea that they had found one of the most mysterious and bizarre artifacts in history. They simply picked up the mummy and brought it back, since there was nothing else to be found in the cave. 2 years after Main's discovery, the mummy from Pedro Mountain made its public debut. By then, it was in the possession of a pharmacy owner named Floyd Jones in the town of Meeteetse, Wyoming. Floyd placed the mummy in his window to attract attention to his pharmacy. It had the desired effect. Nearly everyone who saw it stopped by to take a look at the strange tiny man. Floyd quickly realized the potential for profit in this artifact he held. He began charging people to view the mummy and even printed postcards featuring its image for sale. In 1936, a boy named Eugene Bashore, after convincing his father to pay a 25-cent entry fee, was captivated by the peculiar mummy. He went on to dedicate his life to researching this mysterious artifact. The Pedro Mountain mummy soon became famous, attracting large crowds of visitors and researchers. It also sparked heated debates about its origin and authenticity. Some even arranged for X-rays to be taken of the mummy, and the results confirmed that it was indeed a real body, not a hoax. Beneath the dried, wrinkled skin was a nearly complete skeletal structure. Its bones clearly showed human characteristics, including vertebrae, rib cage, arm bones, and leg bones, but everything was significantly smaller than that of an average human. Many rumors circulated about the origins of this mysterious mummy. Some people believed it was evidence of the existence of tiny humans mentioned in legend. Others thought it might be a mutant dwarf. Eventually, the bizarre mummy was bought by a wealthy businessman named Ivan Goodman, who owned a car dealership in Casper. Goodman used the mummy to promote his car models, calling it a tiny man mummy to spark curiosity among customers. The headless skeletons of a mother and child, wearing fur coats with gold inlays. Recently, archaeologists made a shocking discovery when they announced finding a tomb containing the remains of a woman and a child in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, at the Taldor II burial site of the ancient Pazyryk civilization. These two sets of remains were later confirmed to belong to a mother and child. Both of them were dressed in fur coats adorned with gold, but their heads were missing. What is particularly strange is that the skulls of both the mother and child were found far from their bodies, yet it is unclear whether this was an ancient custom among the Siberians or if there is another explanation. What is certain is that traces of fur coats remained. This suggests that the deceased were dressed warmly, possibly with the belief that they could withstand the cold of the Siberian mountains when embarking on their journey to the afterlife. The tomb also contained two small bronze mirrors and several fragments of pottery, suggesting the tomb dates back around 2,500 years. Additionally, the research team uncovered several intact pieces of ancient gold leaf, which may have been attached to the clothing of the mother and child. Beheading the dead was a common practice during this period. However, this tomb is entirely different from other Pazyryk burial sites that have been studied. According to Dr. Nikita Konstantinov of Gorno-Altaysk University, the practice of beheading the dead originated during wartime. The victorious party often decapitated their defeated enemies to display their power, which is why skulls were never buried with the bodies. However, the case of the mother and child's remains presents a puzzle because, until now, archaeologists had never encountered a headless child's tomb. The careful burial and the beautiful artifacts and clothing found with the bodies suggest that they were not enemies of the tribe. One theory that has been proposed is that the tomb may have been robbed and the thieves removed the heads to prevent evil spirits or ghosts from returning. However, what is puzzling is that there are no signs of disturbance or forced entry, and all the artifacts in the tomb are intact, with only the heads mysteriously missing. This remains an unsolved mystery, leaving scientists with a major question about the beliefs, customs, and mysteries of the Pazyryk civilization, one that may take many more years to decode. Skeletons wearing iron shackles from an ancient Greek military coup. A recent archaeological discovery has raised many questions about the history of violence and bloody events in the past. Specifically, at an ancient Greek cemetery dating from the 5th to 8th centuries BCE, archaeologists discovered at least 80 sets of remains, all with their wrists shackled with iron cuffs, a clear sign of victims who had been executed in mass. However, although the method of execution was the same, the identities of these individuals and the reason they were killed remain an unsolved mystery. The skeletons were buried in a very orderly fashion, unlike victims of brutal trials. Some were lined up neatly in long rows, while others were stacked on top of one another, with limbs folded and their mouths gaping open. This suggests they were not slaves or criminals, but likely individuals of respect in society, despite their tragic end. Archaeologists noted that most of these victims were quite young and in good health when the executions took place, making the story of their deaths even more perplexing. Dr. Stella Chrysolaki, the lead archaeologist on the dig, stated that all the victims had been executed in the same manner, and this was not a typical punishment. The raised arms, with wrists tightly bound by iron cuffs, indicate that this might have been a politically or religiously motivated execution. The discovery was made in the Phaleron Delta area, part of a large ancient cemetery, which was previously used for the burial of the people from that time period. This area was excavated during a project for the construction of an opera house and a national library, expanding the area of discovery to over 440,000 square miles. The current hypothesis is that these skeletons might belong to soldiers who supported Cylon, an Athenian noble and Olympic champion. In 632 BCE, Cylon attempted a failed coup with the help of his father-in-law, the tyrant of Megara. After the failed coup, Cylon fled and took refuge in a temple on the Acropolis, while his supporters were killed. However, these hypotheses have not yet been proven, and researchers are now hopeful that DNA testing and anthropological studies will help them unlock the mystery of these deaths. This discovery not only sheds light on a part of ancient history, but also opens a story about power, political struggle, and the brutality of past coups. Archaeologists hope that future research will provide answers to one of the most mysterious and bloody tales of ancient Greek civilization. Dear friends, with that, the discovery of the skeletons wearing iron shackles concludes today's video. Which discovery impressed you the most? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Now, goodbye and see you next time.